all life in the heavens. He's the creator.
But it didn't really ever say in the Bible that there was life anywhere else other than Earth, or did it?
Yeah, it did.
Where?
Just take a simple term, hosts of heaven.
Hosts?
Right there. The term host is used to describe people and animals and angels.
Okay, but aren't we confusing heaven with the heavens?
Same thing.
Is it really?
Yeah, see, the heavens is talking about outer space and stars and such.
What we see on a good clear night.
Yeah.
Yes.
In Genesis 1:15 through 18 and Exodus 32:13 describes heaven as a physical location. But God's dwelling, it's also considered God's dwelling when you look in Genesis 28:12 through 13, Psalm 11:4, Matthew 6:9. So heaven is a spiritual and a physical place. But they're both one and the same, just like your spirit dwells within your body.
Well, is that kind of like saying then that everything that is, including the space we know as Earth, is part of heaven?
Yes, that is true. So when you read that term, hosts of heaven,
that's true.
Or the stars of heaven, stars and hosts both refer to entities. And so when you read that term, it's simply telling you right there in that short 3-word term, hosts of heaven, that there are beings that live within heaven. And when you understand heaven to be outer space within various levels of glory, then you got it all put together.
Huh. But what seems to be described in Genesis, though, is a creation only of Earth, not of all else that is, but just of Earth itself. That's
well,
light,
no,
light
no.
on
And starting on the third day, that's when God created the stars, and actually it's the fourth day when God created the stars and filled all of His creation with life. So, I mean, the stars and the planets and the moon and the sun and all that, they're all in there, part of that.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you believe that there could be, that in fact there are aliens. Do you believe that, in other words, aliens, class them as you will, we're talking about a very broad term here, whether we're talking about other dimensions or creatures from other planets and other systems. Do you believe that all of these reports, Peter Davenport detailed just a few, we get them all the time, of these incredible craft flitting about, doing things that our craft cannot do, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Even in space, our shuttles see things that just cannot be.
Well,
only they are.
Some of them are, and some of them aren't. I mean, I've heard of holographic technology from satellites and such, and I do believe that there's a lot of things going on. There's a big mixed bag full of phenomenon going on, and it's all classified under the header UFO. But I do believe that there are beings out there, and the Bible seems to indicate that in the latter days that there's going to be an increase of this sort of phenomenon going on, especially as it concerns the arrival of the Antichrist and the end times scenarios.
There are quite a few people who believe, John, that the Antichrist is now alive on Earth. Are you one of those?
Yes, I am. And I believe that because I've studied prophecy long enough to see all the signs, just like you can tell the weather, as Jesus said, you should be able to know that the time is near, and that's what I see. It's pretty clear to me.
And you think the time is pretty near?
Yeah. My assessment of that, I'm not going to set a date or anything. I personally believe it's going to be within my lifetime that all of these things are going to unfold, but I'm not going to argue with anybody about that. Or
Michael will blow the horn and that's it, huh?
Right.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Yeah, all right. What do you think about, there's all kinds of categories. I'm on your website, by the way, and we've got a link to your website. So, folks, you can go straight to my website and just go down to the guest area and look for the name John Myler and go over to his website. A number of categories are here, and I am, and always have been, extremely interested in ghosts.
Ghosts.
I do, 2 or 3 times a year, what I call ghost to ghost, and I just take ghost stories for 5 hours straight on the show, and there's never a shortage. There's always millions of people more who want to talk to me than can ever get through. And the stories that you get, John, are just... Have you ever heard one of those?
Oh, yeah. I have some of my own.
Good. And you have your own.
Yeah.
All right. If you're not a believer that ghosts are something real, after listening to one of those shows, then you're just not listening. And so something is going on. How can a Christian account for the concept of a ghost? Well,
again, the whole concept of exactly what hell is a confusing concept because it has so many descriptions. There's a lowest hell, which is described as a place of burning torment, but then there's a hell that doesn't seem all that bad. It's just a place where there's darkness and sleep. And this to me, and then plus Revelation 20:15-16 describes death and hell as two separate locations. Well, they're actually one and the same, but there are various levels within it. There's an upper, and then all these levels in between, and then the lowest, which is spoken of in Deuteronomy 32:22 and Psalm 86:13.
So there are levels of hell.
Yeah, there are various levels, and I believe that the upper level of hell that it's possible that a spirit could actually remain on the surface, and there is evidence of hauntings even in Scripture.
Wow. So wait a minute now. So you are suggesting that a ghost would be a hellish creature?
Not hellish, but trapped in
hell, all right, at one of the higher levels of hell, not at one of the lower levels of heaven.
Yes.
Woof. Well, then, what does that say then, John, to all of the people who have called my show whose relatives have passed on and seem or appear to remain, to contact them, to let them know things are okay, or to let them know to let go, that I'm okay, that sort of ghost story. I get an awful lot of that.
Now you're getting into another subject. Now you're talking about...
Maybe I am, but doesn't that mean they're in hell? Upper level, maybe?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
They could have left a part of themselves behind as a thought form. So now you're getting into the subject of thought forms and the power of thought and energy.
As delineated from a ghost.
As delineated from the person when they were alive.
So you could appear then as a ghost
after you're dead.
As a sort of remnant of yourself, though you have gone to heaven.
Yes.
Or you could appear from one of the upper levels of hell.
Yes. Either or.
How would a person distinguish?
Well, one key thing to keep in mind that I mention in my book is whenever you're analyzing these sort of topics and you come up with different possibilities, that you should always keep a couple of key verses in mind so that you don't fall into deception. And if there's any phenomenon that's purporting some sort of philosophy that's contrary to Scripture, then that gets a big warning flag that jumps up right there. For instance, in Deuteronomy 18:20-22 and Deuteronomy 13:1-4, those are scriptures on how to discern whether a spirit is not from God or not. Or a particular phenomenon.
All right. Well, I'm just a layman, so how would one distinguish?
Okay. This is a touchy subject here with a lot of people because...
all I do here is touchy stuff.
Yeah. If a spirit is purporting some sort of a doctrine, then I would very much take that into suspect. And if the doctrine is anything contrary to Scripture, then I would definitely believe that it was demonic.
Demonic?
Demonic, yes. The big, ugly Christian.
Can you give me an example of what you would consider demonic, something that you would be said to you or...
Okay. If a spirit appears and wants to continue to have an ongoing rapport with someone,
yes,
it seems to indicate that that's okay. Well, the Bible clearly indicates that necromancy is a forbidden art. It's something that should not be practiced, and primarily because of demonic influences.
So, in other words, an ongoing dialogue or a request for one
that would be one indicator, yeah, definitely. Or say if somebody contacted a spirit through a Ouija board. Well, that's a type of necromancy. That's where you're reaching out. And it wouldn't have to be a Ouija board. There's tons of things that are out there, and they're waiting for you to throw sticks on the ground or whatever it may be to reach out to them, and they're on it.
I've look, a long time now, John, I've thought when you even mentally open yourself to the possibility of this kind of thing, then you might as well be playing with a Ouija board, because your door is open and something might walk through.